Uruguay has fewer people than a single district in many major cities, just 3.5 million, and yet this tiny country has won the World Cup twice. Now look at the other side. Indonesia, over 280 million people, the fourth most populous country on Earth, has never once qualified for a World Cup. Pakistan, 240 million people, sits below 190th in the FIFA rankings. So here's the question worth sitting with. If a bigger population means a bigger talent pool, why do tiny countries like Uruguay, Croatia, and the Netherlands keep producing some of the best players the game has ever seen, while billion-plus nations barely show up on the map? This isn't a coincidence. There's a pattern hiding underneath it. And once you understand it, you'll never watch football the same way again. Let's put a real number on this. Uruguay has produced a World Cup winning side for roughly every 1.75 million citizens. Nigeria, population over 220 million, has never made it past the round of 16. If Nigeria succeeded at the same rate as Uruguay relative to its population, it should have won the World Cup more than 60 times over by now. It hasn't won once. Whatever advantage a massive population is supposed to give a country, it clearly isn't translating on the football pitch. The answer starts with the phrase Uruguayans still use today. Garra Charrúa, the claw of the Charrúa, named after the indigenous people once known for refusing to surrender, even against impossible odds. Uruguayan football built its entire identity around that refusal. In 1950, Uruguay walked into Brazil's Maracanazo stadium in front of nearly 200,000 fans who already believed Brazil had won. Newspapers had been printed congratulating the host nation. Uruguay won 2-1. The Maracanazo, still remembered in Brazil as one of the most painful days in its sporting history. That mentality wasn't built in one tournament. It came from decades of tightly packed neighborhood leagues dating back to the early 1900s, where a small talent pool meant every player had to stand out fast or get left behind completely. Luis Suarez, raised in a struggling household in Salto with 6 siblings, is a direct product of that culture, going from street football to becoming one of the most clinical strikers of his generation. Croatia's story starts somewhere darker. In the early 1990s, Yugoslavia was tearing itself apart in war. Luka Modrić, just 6 years old, became a refugee after his grandfather was killed in the conflict, living in a hotel in Zadar for years, while air raid sirens were part of daily life. He practiced football in the hotel parking lot, sometimes around bomb craters, because there was nowhere else to play. Coaches later doubted he'd survive professional football physically, calling him too small and fragile. He went on to captain Croatia to a World Cup final in 2018 and win the Ballon d'Or that same year. That wasn't an isolated miracle either. Clubs like Dinamo Zagreb built an entire business model around developing young talent quickly, because with a tiny domestic league and limited money, Croatia couldn't buy success the way wealthier nations could. It had to manufacture it, refine it, and sell it. The Netherlands took a third, completely different approach. In the 1970s, Ajax developed what became known as total football, a philosophy where every player learned multiple positions, and tactical intelligence was taught almost like a school subject, starting as young as 7. It produced Johan Cruyff and decades of world-class talent from a country with no natural advantage in size or wealth. That same philosophy later shaped how Barcelona developed Lionel Messi, and how dozens of national federations structure their academies today. 3 completely different paths: a fighting identity, a wartime necessity, a deliberate teaching system. But all 3 arrived at the same conclusion from different directions. When you don't have numbers, you build a system instead. And that's the real pattern underneath all of it. Smaller countries can't afford to waste a single talented kid, so they build academies, leagues, and cultures designed to find and sharpen every player who shows even a flicker of promise. Bigger countries, with talent scattered across hundreds of millions of people and far weaker structures to actually develop it, let most of that talent disappear unnoticed. Population was never the advantage everyone assumed it was. The system always was.